When I returned from a month-long work trip, my kids treated me like a stranger. My daughter looked me in the eyes and said, "Hope you had fun cheating on Mom." But I never cheated. What my wife did to destroy our family was pure evil, and what I uncovered nearly ruined her life. We were together for 15 years, married for 11, 2 kids, a daughter, 11, a son, 10. To everyone around us, we looked like a solid family. I worked as a senior business consultant based in Chicago. Maya, my wife, worked in tech. She ran security systems for a mid-sized firm. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. I made around $400,000 a year, enough to take a couple of vacations, pay for private school, and live without stress. Like any marriage, we had our ups and downs, but I always believed we were a team, that no matter what happened, we'd face it together. I couldn't have been more wrong. In October 2022, I got assigned to a project in Europe. It was high profile, well paid. I'd be gone for a month. Maya and I talked about it. She said she'd miss me, but she understood. It was important. She told me to focus on the work and that she and the kids would be fine. So I went. And for a while, everything seemed normal. We FaceTimed every few days. The kids would wave from the couch. Maya would smile, ask about the project. I sent gifts. I made sure to stay present, even from 4,000 miles away. When I flew back, that's when the nightmare began. They didn't come to the airport, not even a text saying, "Welcome back." I stood outside for 30 minutes before ordering a cab. When I walked into the house, it felt off, cold, quiet. My daughter looked at me and barely nodded. My son gave me a one-word "hey" and walked off. And Maya? She didn't even hug. She was in the kitchen when I came in. Said dinner was in the microwave. That's it. I sat at the table trying to make sense of what was happening. A bad day at school? I didn't want to overthink it. Until my daughter looked at me, straight-faced, and said, "Hope you had fun on your business trip." She didn't smile. She didn't blink. That wasn't sarcasm. That was bitterness. That was hurt. And it was completely out of character. I asked Maya what was going on, why everyone was acting so distant. She said they were just tired. But it didn't feel like fatigue. It felt personal. It felt like someone had turned them against me. And I had no idea why. Until one night, everything unraveled. It happened late one night, about a week after I got back. Everyone was asleep. I was finishing up some emails on our family iMac. The usual post-travel chaos meant I hadn't set up my work laptop yet, so I was using whatever was available. I noticed Maya's iMessage account was still logged in. It wasn't intentional, but something in my gut said, "Open it." I hesitated. Then I clicked. At the top of the message list was a name I didn't recognize. Brandon M. Work. I opened the thread. At first, it looked professional, just casual coworker stuff. "Can you check this file?" "Meeting at 11. But the deeper I scrolled, the more the tone changed. Flirty remarks, inside jokes, late-night messages, then photos, revealing ones. My wife, sent to another man while I was across the world working to provide for our family. My hands were shaking, but I kept scrolling. "You make me feel seen. I've never laughed like this with anyone before. Wish you were here. Hotel, rooms boring without you." That last message hit like a punch to the chest. They met. They didn't just flirt. They planned hotel meetups, nights together. Affair confirmed. She ended the messages a week before I returned. Her final message to him read, "I can't keep doing this. I feel disgusting. He's coming home soon." I sat there staring at the screen, paralyzed. It wasn't just the cheating. It was the betrayal, the lies, the manipulation. I confronted her the next morning. Didn't scream, didn't throw things, just asked, "Who's Brandon?" Her face went pale. She knew. She collapsed onto the couch and started crying. Begged me to talk. to understand. Said she was lonely, that I was always gone, said it was emotional, until one time she claimed, said she ended it right after, said the guilt was too much. I didn't say a word. I grabbed my keys and left. Drove straight to my brother's house. That night I couldn't sleep. I just kept replaying everything in my head. How long had she been lying? The next day I came home early. The kids were at school. She sat me down, tried again to explain. He made me feel special. I didn't mean to fall into it. I told her I wanted a divorce. Her tears stopped, just like that silence. I called my lawyer the next morning, told him to start drawing up the paperwork. We had a prenup. I thought it'd be clean, quick, but I didn't know who I was dealing with. Not yet, because what she did next wasn't just cruel, it was strategic, manipulative, and it nearly cost me my children. I thought the worst was over, but I was wrong, because right after I told Maya I wanted a divorce, she changed. The crying stopped. The apologies disappeared. She looked me in the eyes and said, "If you leave me, you'll lose your kids." At first I thought she was bluffing. Then she told me exactly what she'd done while I was away on my business trip, and my blood ran cold. She said, "The day I left for Europe, she sat our kids down. She told them I had another woman, that I was flying overseas, not for work, but to be with my girlfriend." She showed them fake messages. Once she had created a photoshopped message of me talking to a made-up woman. She told them that I'd abandoned the family, that I didn't love them anymore, that I'd probably never come back. And they believed her because she didn't just lie once. She nurtured that lie for an entire month, every day whispering poison into their ears while I was 4,000 miles away, working to build a better life for all of us. No wonder they looked at me like I was a stranger when I came home. No wonder my daughter said, "Hope you had fun." They thought I was the bad guy. And here's where it gets worse. In our state, custody decisions after a divorce weigh heavily on the kids' preferences, especially at their age. If Maya had them convinced I was a cheater, a manipulator, and there'd be nothing I could do about it. She knew that, and she used it. Try to leave me, and I'll make sure they never know the truth. It was blackmail. It worked. I canceled the divorce. And I stayed. Not because I forgave her, but because I was trapped. For the next year, I lived like a ghost in my own house. My kids barely spoke to me. My wife treated me like a burden, a nuisance. Our bedroom was a war zone of silence. We hadn't been intimate in 7 or 8 months. I tried. I begged for connection, for a chance to fix things. Every time she turned away. Every single time. Eventually, I stopped trying. I started staying out late, sleeping in the guest room when I did come home. I felt like I was drowning in my own life. And then, something unexpected happened. I met someone, not the way you think. She's a colleague, divorced, no drama, no lies. Her husband left her for someone overseas. We started talking, sharing stories, hurt, healing. It wasn't physical, not at first. It was emotional, because for the first time in nearly a year, someone listened, someone cared, and when things finally did get physical, it felt like breathing after being underwater for too long. But even then, I felt guilt. Not because I betrayed my wife. She'd already burned that bridge long ago. I felt guilt because I knew how it would look. To my kids, to the people around me. I didn't want to become the villain in a story she already wrote. So I asked myself, do I keep living this double life? Or do I risk everything to expose the truth? That's when I realized I couldn't move forward until I took my name back, until I showed my kids who I really was. But to do that, I needed proof. And what did I do next? Changed everything. I had nothing, no texts, no photos, no receipts, no way to prove the truth to my kids. Why? Because Maya deleted everything. Right after I confronted her, she scrubbed every message, every file, and every trace of her affair. And she knew exactly what she was doing. She worked in tech for years. She didn't just delete evidence, she deleted my voice from the story. And with the lies she fed our kids, I was losing them, but I wasn't giving up. I started reading everything I could. Forums, legal blogs, stories from people who had survived what I was going through. One comment hit me hard. You don't need her confession in court. You need it for your kids. Record it. So that became my mission. I ordered a professional-grade voice recorder, small, discreet, clear audio. While I waited for it to arrive, I made another move. I planned a weekend trip to my parents' cabin in the mountains. Just me and the kids. They love their grandparents, nature, hiking, campfires. I knew they'd say yes, but I wasn't taking them up there just for a getaway. I was taking them there to finally tell the truth, but I had to time it right. I told Maya that I'd be driving them up on Thursday and staying through Sunday. She didn't seem to care, and that was fine with me. Because the night before the trip, I came home alone, and I brought the recorder. I walked through the door like nothing was wrong. She barely looked up from her show. I slipped the recorder into my jacket pocket, hit record. Then I sat down beside her and said, "We need to talk." She rolled her eyes. "What now?" I didn't yell, didn't accuse. I stayed calm, and I asked, "Why haven't we been intimate in almost a year?" She laughed, mocking, "Because I have no interest in being with you. You're not the man I married." I stayed quiet. She kept going. "But you're the one who always wants it. So why don't you go look for it somewhere else?" I asked. "Would that make us even?" She scoffed. "You act like I ruined your life. Maybe if you didn't leave me alone all the time, I wouldn't have needed someone else." Then she said it. "Yes, I had an affair, because you treated me like garbage. You ignored me. So I went to someone who made me feel human. You want to cheat too? Be my guest. Just don't bother me." It was loud, so loud. I wondered if the neighbors could hear. But I didn't care. I had it. Her voice, her confession, her cruelty, on tape. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I packed the kids into the car and drove them up to the cabin. We spent Friday hiking, laughing, roasting marshmallows. Saturday morning, I sat them down, told them the truth, about the trip to Europe, about the lies they were told, about the woman I was never with. They looked skeptical at first, until I showed them flight confirmations, hotel bookings, my meeting schedule from the company, and then I played the audio. Every word. They listened in silence. My daughter started crying. My son looked down at the floor, and then they hugged me, tightly. I'll never forget what my daughter whispered in my ear. "I'm so sorry, Dad." I didn't. No. That moment, that hug, it healed something in me that had been broken for a year. We spent the rest of the weekend as a family, laughing, talking, bonding. For the first time in a long time, I felt like a father again. But the story wasn't over. Because when we got back, I made one final call. To my lawyer. When we got home, I didn't say a word to Maya. I didn't need to. Because for the first time in months, I had leverage. The kids had heard the truth, they'd seen the proof, and now they looked at her differently, cold, distant, exactly how they used to look at me. She felt it. That shift in the air? She noticed it the moment we walked through the door, but she didn't know why, so she tried playing her old cards. She smiled. She hugged them, asked about the trip, tried to act like Mom of the Year. But the energy was off. Her charm wasn't working anymore. And then came the first blow. My daughter didn't hug her back, just walked straight to her room. My son mumbled, "Hey," and followed. Maya turned to me, confused. "What's going on?" I just smiled. You'll find out soon." I let her sit in that silence for hours. No arguments, no explanations, just pure, calculated distance. And while she sat there, I called my lawyer. "It's time. File the papers." This time, it wasn't a maybe. It was real. We had a prenup. We had no shared business assets. Our accounts were separate. The only complicated part? Custody. But now that the kids knew the truth, I wasn't afraid. Not anymore. The next morning, Maya found the papers in the kitchen, right next to her morning coffee. She froze. For the first time in a year, she looked scared. "What is this?" "Divorce," I said. For real this time. She tried everything. She went from defensive, "This is ridiculous, you're breaking up our family," to desperate, "Please, we can go to therapy, I'll do anything." But nothing worked. Because this time, I had everything: the proof, the audio, the timeline, the receipts, the truth. And the kids? They were on my side now, and just when I thought the chaos had finally peaked, she dropped a bombshell. "So, is this about your coworker?" She said it with a smirk. Accusation disguised as curiosity. I didn't respond because I knew where she was going. "You think you're better than me?" she spat. "You've been seeing someone behind my back." I just looked at her. "No, I've been surviving." She didn't like that answer, but it was the truth. And after everything she didn't get to play victim anymore. The next few days were tense. She tried to manipulate the kids again, tried guilt-tripping them into staying in her corner. But they saw through it this time. Because once the veil lifts, it never goes back down. She had no control anymore, and the moment she realized that, she stopped trying, stopped cooking, stopped talking, just sat in her room binge-watching shows and stress-eating like she had been since the affair ended. By the end of the week, my lawyer called. The papers were filed. I was free, but I wasn't celebrating yet, because there was one final step. Telling the kids about the woman who helped me through it all, and for that, I needed help. Therapy day came fast, too fast. My palms were sweating. My heart was racing. Not because I was nervous about the therapist, but because I was about to introduce my kids to a woman they didn't even know existed, a woman who'd been quietly holding my world together while their mother tried to burn it down. I had thought about every possible outcome. What if they hated me again? What if they thought I had lied, even after everything? What if I lost the bond I had just rebuilt? But I knew one thing for sure: if I didn't do this now, I'd be lying to them again, and after everything we'd just been through, they deserved the full truth. The therapist started the session with small talk. My daughter was polite, my son quiet, but they were there that meant something. Eventually she asked, "What brings you in today?" I took a deep breath. "I've made mistakes. Not the ones your mom told you I made, but different ones." The room got still. I was lonely. For a long time, and after everything that happened, I found someone who listened, someone who cared. My daughter blinked. My son shifted in his seat. "I didn't cheat on your mother, not before the marriage ended, not while I was trying to fix things. But I also didn't tell you that someone else came into my life after the damage had already been done." I paused, then I said her name. "Her name is Elise." They didn't react right away. The therapist gently asked, "Would you like to tell them more?" So I did. I told them how I met her, how she was divorced too, how she knew what betrayal felt like, how we didn't rush into anything, we just talked. For months, we shared dinners, movies, walks, not as lovers, but as two broken people trying to feel human again. And eventually, when the time was right, we became more. But even then, I never stopped loving my kids. I just stopped pretending I wasn't drowning. Then came the question I feared. "Do you love her?" my daughter asked. I nodded. "Yeah, I do." Silence, until my son finally said, "Is she nice?" I smiled. She's the kindest person I've ever met." Another long pause. Then my daughter leaned forward. "Can we meet her?" I couldn't believe it. I had prepared for yelling, tears, rejection, but not acceptance. "Only when you're ready," I said. "No pressure, ever." But they insisted, so we made a plan. That Saturday we met at a quiet cafe near the park. Elise was nervous. I could see it all over her face. But the moment my kids walked in, she stood up, looked them in the eyes, and said, "Hi, I've heard so much about you. It's so nice to finally meet you." My daughter smiled. My son gave her a small wave. And somehow, that was enough. We talked for almost an hour, laughed a little, joked a little, and for the first time in over a year, I felt something I thought I'd lost forever. Peace. I know this journey isn't over. There's still healing to do, still conversations to have, still scars we're all learning to carry. But I'm no longer afraid of the future, because I'm not hiding anymore. Not from my kids, not from my past, and not from love. I didn't plan on telling Maya, not yet, not until the divorce was finalized. But life has a funny way of setting fires before you're ready, because guess what? She found out anyway. And not from me. It started with a photo. Just one. Someone saw me and Elise out with the kids at the park, laughing, smiling, eating ice cream like a real family. They posted it. No caption. Just 4 people enjoying the sun. But it didn't take long. Maya saw it, recognized the kids instantly. Then me. Then her. She lost it. That night she showed up at my house uninvited, pounding on the door like she was the one betrayed, opened it calm. Because I expected this. What I didn't expect was how far she'd go. "So that's your new woman? The home wrecker?" I almost laughed. "You mean the woman I met after you blew up our marriage?" "Yeah, that's her." She wasn't ready for me to be this grounded. She came looking for guilt, but found peace, and it pissed her off. "You've got some nerve parading our kids around with that woman." I stopped her. "Our kids? The ones you turned against me? Lied to? Manipulated?" She went quiet. For once, no comeback. "They asked to meet her, Maya. They like her, because she doesn't lie to them." Then came the tears, the Weapon Z ones. "So you've replaced me, huh? Just like that? After 15 years? "No," I said. "You replaced yourself. The moment you gave yourself to someone else." She broke then, sank to the ground, cried into her hands, and for the first time in a long time, I felt nothing, not hate, not love, just closure. But the drama wasn't over yet, because a few days later, she did something I didn't expect. She filed for full custody. Out of spite, claimed I was emotionally manipulating the kids, said I was exposing them to an unstable relationship, even tried to bring up Elise. My lawyer called me in disbelief. She's playing dirty, real dirty. But I was ready, because I documented everything. The manipulation, the threats, the recordings, the therapy sessions, the photos, the timeline. I had the receipts and truth on my side. In court, she unraveled. The judge asked why she wanted full custody. She said I was a bad father. The judge asked for proof. She said I abandoned the family. I showed travel records, business contracts, passport stamps, all dated to the exact time she told the kids I was with another woman. Then I played the recording, her own voice screaming, "I'll make sure they never know the truth," and another clip. "I have no interest in being intimate with you. Go find someone else. Just don't disturb me." By the time I finished, the courtroom was silent. Even her attorney looked down. The judge turned to her and said, "You've emotionally abused your children and your husband. You're lucky he's not suing for sole custody." We walked out of there with 50-50 custody locked in. and an ironclad agreement that neither of us would speak negatively about the other to the kids. She tried to look unfazed, but you could see it in her eyes. She lost, not just in court, but in life. Now, things are different. My kids are healing. I'm healing. Elise and I are taking things slow but strong. And Maya? She's quiet, still bitter, still trying to play the victim. But the truth's out now, the mask is off, and she knows it.